Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. Well, since you're here, you can watch me do a water change. Welcome back. Today I'm going to do a 50% water change. This is how I do it, right or wrong, be that as it may. Some of the things you're going to need, first off, siphon hose right here. This is a 10-gallon tote. I'll be draining exactly 10 gallons out of this tank. And over here I have my ready water, which I have my chemicals mixed up in there. It's been setting overnight. And also you can see a length of hose, clean hose, which I use to siphon out my ready water. Also, you're going to need something to scrub the side of the glass with to get any detritus off there. So first thing I do is I start by removing the lid. That way you don't knock it off while you're working. Place it behind, and you're going to want to remove your filters. I simply pull the whole filter off, drop the sponges in my bucket, let that hang, grab the next filter, try not to stir up too much of the detritus and food at the bottom. Set that aside. Grab your last, I use 3 sponge filters. Boom. Next, remove any decorations or equipment out of your tank. You can see some debris floating in there. This tank is pretty clean. I run a bare bottom. And next you're going to want to get your siphon hose. Place this end into the water. Create a vacuum on the other end. Drop it in your tank. I let this go for a little while. You grab your sponge here, go down to the bottom, turn the sponge 180 degrees, come back up, and go in a zigzag motion all the way down your glass, keeping the dirt or detritus in front of the sponge. Go in a slow, steady motion, not to disturb your fish or kick up too much of the debris on the bottom. That's how you get your glass nice and clean. I will only do the bottom and 2 of the sides at one time. You just can't go fast enough while you're siphoning. You could stop the siphon, but this is just, again, how I do things around here. After you get that, rinse it off, go to the next side. Again, just up and down, turning the sponge to keep the dirt in front of your sponge, so that way it doesn't get kicked off into the water column. See that? You'll collect all of your gunk off the sides. Toss that in the water, and if you can look closely here, I put the siphon right against the bottom and just slide it just like that, and you can see it start to build up. Lift the siphon and you'll suck it all up. I do this, I just go back and forth in a zigzag pattern across the bottom. Whoops. Try not to move too fast because you'll kick up all the detritus on the bottom. Just go back and forth all the way across the bottom until your tank is clean. And some of the stuff gets kicked up. It really doesn't matter. When you put your filters back in, all that stuff will get sucked into your filter so you can clean it out next time. Most important thing is getting the surface clean. Helps cut down on parasites, helps cut down on bacteria, especially fungus. These fish here are Discus. These are my fire dragon breeding pair. And I've noticed they're pretty susceptible to infections due to the fact that I keep them at a high temperature in the water, high acidity level in the water, and I feed them really heavily. So those factors combine together, just a breeding ground for your funguses, your bacterias, parasites. Anything that eats will be doing pretty good in my tank, I'll tell you that much. So you can see here I do run a bare bottom, but I have a bit of gravel, and I feel like it makes the fish feel more comfortable. But I just get some of the gravel inside my siphon, put the siphon flat, tilt it back just a bit, and it should spin those rocks around. They'll rub against each other and lift off that debris, lift off that detritus. Set aside your clean rocks. Get some more dirty rocks. Create that vortex in there. Just a couple seconds worth. Should be clean enough for that day. Depending on how often you clean your tank. Depends on how healthy your fish will be. The more water changes you do, the healthier the fish will be. As long as you're doing them correctly, using your prime the water. You can't just put straight tap water in with most fish. That chlorine will make them sick. It'll mess up the nitrification cycle in your filters. So once you get most of the detritus that's stuck to the bottom, just go in a pattern like that. Once you get most of it up, you could just let this hang in here like that. Don't let it smack your fish. Catch it in pieces. So then you'll come down here, and I just take my sponges, scrub them together, turn it, rub, roll it over. Then I squeeze them in the water, make sure they're nice and clean. You don't want them too clean. They have good bacteria in here that eats the nitrogen out of the water. So just like that, the water will get a little bit cloudy. Replace them, just like so. Grab your next set, scrub them together. This just loosens up any detritus that the sponge has filtered out of the water. Give it a nice rinse in the tank water. You don't ever want to use rinse your sponges off in tap water. Again, the chlorine will kill the good bacteria. This is the best way I've found to do it. Some people don't wash their filters at all. Matter of fact, in the tanks behind me, I don't wash the filters. They never get clogged. It just seems to keep breaking down any detritus. It'll break it down further and further, and it won't get clogged up. All I have in there is guppies right now. If I tried to do that with these big guys, it would get clogged up. So, different circumstances for different tanks. You just got to find what works best for you. Again, I just use the same sponge I clean the walls with. Scrub this filter. Scrub it gently but firmly. I've ripped one of these. And you just want to get that debris off there so your filter works properly. Yummy. There you go. Give that a nice little squeeze, a little rinse. You got plenty of water out that time. Maybe do 52% water change. So I just clean the base of this real nicely. Get that detritus off there. And detritus is waste, skin cells, maybe some bacteria, some mold and fungus. It's just any debris that's on the bottom of your tank is the detritus. Food and fish waste. That's okay. Give that a little squeeze. Put that back together. This goes over your hose. Connect it to the port. Then just replace it. Keep your fish happy, keep your tank clean, and you'll be happy. You'll have happy fish. So, remove that. Oh, this is my breeding cone. This again is my breeding pair of Fire Dragon Discus. Keep this real clean for them. Give that a spin. Drop that back into the tank. You can see there, I just cleaned it and they already are using the toilet there. My alarm going off. It's almost time to pick my son up. So next, I have my ready water. All my chemicals are already mixed in here. It's been setting overnight. Gives it time for the chlorine to evaporate. And I like to mix my chemicals first, so that way they're nice and dissolved. If you want me to do a ready water video tutorial, I can also do that. But start the siphon, place it in there like that. And I found it works best if you actually have the end of the siphon below the water line. If it's above, you're going to get a bunch of bubbles. It kind of moves the water around a little bit more, and the fish don't really like that. If the fish get micro bubbles on their skin, it can affect their slime coat, allowing an area for bacteria to get in. So if you could just zoom in right there, watch the fish as they enjoy their nice fresh water. And again, you can still see little pieces of debris floating around there, little pieces of detritus. That will be all in the filter within 2 hours or so. The water will be crystal clear. The fish can go ahead and be fed, anything like that. So this is already almost siphoning. This is a 5-gallon jug. I just bought this at Dillon's. I think it was about $13. I used to get RO water and truck it all the way from Dillon's home. I don't do that anymore. This is just tap water mixed with some of my chemicals, and that's it. The fish seem to like it. They're doing real well. They're growing good. They've bred several times in here, and yeah, that's what I do. It works for me. Something different might work for you. If you have opinions, you can leave it in the comment section. You know, maybe you'll teach me something I don't know. But these fish are almost 2 years old, and you can see they're pretty good sized fish. You know, I got them when they were quite a bit smaller, a little bit bigger than a 50-cent piece. And yeah, they do good. So this tank has finished. So I removed the hose, get rid of that, get the last bit of this water out, and you're probably thinking that's not enough water. You're right. I have another 5-gallon jug right here. Same thing, ready water, made it last night. Get one of your hose in the jug. Wipe that off. Start the siphon. Boom. That's it. Make sure your hose that's inside the jug is all the way down to the bottom, otherwise you'll have to restart the siphon and it's a big hassle because there'll be water in there. But like I said, I take out a little bit too much water. We're doing about a 52% water change, which is fine because the way I do it, the fish, I can actually take the fish out of this tank and put them into this jug. Mind you, they wouldn't fit, but this is the same exact water. The chemicals, the parameters are the same. The temperature is almost the same. It might be off 2 or 3 degrees. I can show you. That's 82. I don't know if that's focusing. This is 82 degrees, which I keep this room pretty warm. And then the tank itself, okay, 86 degrees, 4 degrees difference. That's the only difference. The pH level is the same, hardness is the same. There's like no nitrites in my water. Ammonia levels, real low. I have the good bacteria in my filters. I change the water often enough to where that's never really a problem. The only difference would be, like I said, this is a little bit cooler because there's a heat source underneath the tank. These are sitting in the same room. The room temperature is 82 degrees. I'm probably sweating right now. But can you see my other tank over here? It says 82 degrees. So these two are the same temperature right here. This jug's going pretty slow. Here, let me make sure I'm still going. Sometimes this hose will get down to the bottom and create a suction against the side of the jug. So if you push it in there a little bit further, kind of helps with that a little bit. Sometimes it'll create a suction and the water won't siphon, it will just stop itself. But you can see my fish love this. You want to do a water change and you want to put the water into your tank real slowly, unless you know what you're doing. This water is actually moving pretty fast. You can see here, it's a nice steady pace though. The fish are used to it. Like I said, I've been doing it the same way for over a year. A couple things to look out for when you're doing a water change. If your fish are up at the top breathing heavy, that's a sign of stress. If they change color, get real pale, that's also a sign of stress. If they're, turning to one side or the other, that's a sign of stress. But as you can see, my fish are happy. Right now, if there was food in the tank, they'd probably just be sitting there eating. They're used to it. If you're going to do a water change this way, you might use an airline hose. Just your regular, your standard airline hose. That's how I used to do it, is I would siphon my water out just using an airline hose. It takes a long time, but it's a really safe way to do it for your fish. That way there's no swings in temperature, there's no swings in pH, any of your water parameters. It's a nice slow flow, gives your fish plenty of time to get used to that water coming into their tank. So if you're having problems doing water changes, your fish are getting stressed out, maybe try using a slower siphon. This is how I do mine though. Please do not do this if you don't feel comfortable doing a water change this way. I do, and it's been working for me so far. Maybe, you know, the fish aren't particularly happy doing it this way. Maybe I have some improvements to make. If you know something that I don't, leave it in the comment section, please. I'm always looking to improve. Well, we're back. Had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're okay. Like I said, just about done here. That's about 5 gallons right there. I think this is a 29-gallon tank. So I could pour about 5 more gallons in here, which I will do after this video, and go ahead and top it off. I like to keep my water levels just above this black line, just barely above this black line. My discus, they like a tall water column, and also the more water you have in your tank, the more stable the water conditions will be. It'll be harder to get ammonia packed in there. The pH level, if it does go up or down, it'll be harder to go up or down. So the more water, usually the more water the better for a fish. When it's a larger water volume, the temperature doesn't swing as fast. Water is a good insulator, so it's hard to change the temperature of it. So that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, dump this out, and I do pour some of this water onto my plants. You can see I have some of my beautiful lemons here that I started from seed. These are all a couple years old. I keep them trimmed way back, and I keep them inside, so that's why they're not that big. But if you want to see a video on how to start these from seed, or any other plant, I will do a video on that. Just leave that in the comment sections too, or send me a message if you have any requests. And that's all. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you to my camera lady, and have a good day.